Hi, I'm Patrick Disney and welcome to Western Window, a show made by and for students right here at Western Washington University. Today we'll get a look inside the College of Fine and Performing Arts through a short conversation with Dean Dan Guyette. We'll follow a team of extremely dedicated students helping to install a brand new piece of artwork right here on campus. We'll also take a look at a unique, nationally renowned hands-on marine center and more. So, stay with us as we explore our world through Western Window. Western's College of Fine and Performing Arts is the only freestanding College of Fine and Performing Arts within the Washington State University system, and it has almost 900 majors throughout its 4 departments. A plethora of opportunities for hands-on learning provides the spark for student creativity and innovation throughout the college.
I am Dan Guyette, the Dean of the College of Fine and Performing Arts at Western Washington University. Fine and Performing Arts here really has a great reputation nationally. You know, any dean of a College of Fine and Performing Arts is going to be from one of the arts areas. I mean, it's almost without exception. So you're a passionate artist anyway. When you become a dean, you can't be a theater dean. You can't be a music dean. You've got to be an arts dean. One of the things I enjoy most is being able to engage with the community and to further the community's understanding of what we do, what our students and faculty do, the achievements they have made. Students are involved in every aspect of the college, and it's a key function of the college. I mean, really, we do nothing if it's not a benefit for the students. And if we're about educating students for the professions in the arts, the only way to actually get them prepared is to actually give them hands-on experiences. So in the classroom, they learn the theory, and then when we go to rehearsals, when we go to practice, when we go to the studio, when we go out and actually do it as part of that class, and then perform it, which is our form of publication, performing it to the public or exhibiting it to the public, that is an essential part of the learning experience for students.
Where are you from? Where were you born?
So obviously, the 4 years in a row now, we've been funded by the NEA for recreating masterpieces of dance, and Susan Haynes and receiving that for 4 years in a row, which is unprecedented that I'm aware of. So to have that here for our students, that opportunity is wonderful. Students are very savvy in terms of multidisciplinary, multimedia, new media, combining and blending stuff together. It used to be we had to really force students to be that way. Students come to us that way now, without even realizing that the student is thinking across multi-majors and disciplines, but yet they understand that all of those elements are an essential part of telling their story, because they have interest in doing a dance piece, but I want to do my own music, and maybe I'll even compose my own music for that dance piece. And over here, I'm also thinking about the lighting, because that's very important. And it's different every day I come to work. It doesn't get old. You know, there's always a new challenge. As the people I work with, they're incredibly creative and innovative. The students are bright and smart, and they come in and they challenge you, and they come up with new ideas. In my position, I've got to be ready to support that. And I think it's the best job anybody could ever have, to be in a position I'm in. Bellingham is one of the top cities in the United States for working artists, for the number of artists we have, number of arts organizations, behind Santa Fe, and everybody knows Santa Fe. But if you say Bellingham, they say, oh, a pretty place to live, but they don't think of it as an arts city like Santa Fe. We want to change that. Last year, over $21 million of economic impact was brought to this county by the arts, predominantly in Bellingham. And the arts are just as important as doctors and lawyers and firemen and policemen. We're there to support people in their lives and to bring value to it and to bring meaning to it and to help people interact as a community and think about each other, rather than as individuals. What I'm most passionate about is for students to be able to be successful and to do for them what faculty in my past did for me. To open up those doors and provide those opportunities to be successful in what we want to do and what we love to do.
Western's Shannon Point Marine Center is not only a research facility for visiting scientists from around the globe, it also provides unique learning opportunities for international undergraduates.
The mission of the Shannon Point Marine Center is to support and promote academic programs at Western in the marine sciences. We can do several things for them here. We can get them out into the field on our academic research vessels. We can permit them to study marine organisms well because of our running seawater system that brings the environment into the laboratory. We have 3,000 feet of beachfront, which provides a natural laboratory for observation. And we are organized as a research environment at which instruction occurs. So all of these things add value to their education. I think the thing that makes Shannon Point distinctive is the opportunity it provides to undergraduates to be trained in the most up-to-date field and laboratory investigative techniques that marine scientists use. And to engage in research activity. This is an opportunity that I think it's fair to say most undergraduates around the United States don't have.
Originally, I am from Dominica, which is an island in the Caribbean. Currently, I am working on how environmental conditions affect larval behavior, specifically how ocean acidification affects larval behavior. The changes in ocean acidification is a major issue. So what I'm trying to learn from this project is how it overall affects crabs. I am looking at how it could change their movement, could change their feeding patterns, and could change their growth patterns. For my research, I stare at a camera for about 40 hours a day and just videotaping larvae, just sitting down, staring at a camera screen. But I really like going after I videotape all of the larvae, just seeing what they've done, seeing how they move, seeing their patterns. That's my favorite part.
My name is Erin Stair, and I'm from Olympia, Washington. I am working with crab larvae. Crab larvae are adorable. They don't look like crabs, but they have these big buggy eyes and they swim all around. They're really cute. I am feeding baby crabs different diets, and I want to see how well they can survive on those diets. So essentially, plankton that eat algae, if their diet of algae affects their value for these crab larvae. Having an understanding of what they need in the wild nutrient-wise impacts the community structure out in the bay, and obviously if more can survive, there's going to be more crabs on the beaches.
Shannon Point Marine Center provides a unique opportunity for students and faculty to engage in very sophisticated studies of the marine environment. And so we are involved in training the next generation of professionals who will help us protect and understand those important environments.
Western is renowned for its outdoor public art. In fact, it has one of the top 10 acclaimed university collections within the United States. Now, a brand new sculpture from international artist Do Ho Suh, titled Cause and Effect, is bringing that collection indoors, but only with the help of some dedicated Western students.
You have 31.
I think this one might have just gotten damaged accidentally or in the shipment, because none of the other ones in the strand were damaged. He was just missing his foot on the bottom.
I'm a triple major. art ed, art history, and studio art.
You're an art student.
Art history student. I'm also majoring in East Asian studies, so getting to work with Korean artists is kind of cool. No, this is all volunteer. But I enjoy the work.
I really admire Do Ho Suh's work, and it's a really unique opportunity to be involved in an installation that's going to be here permanently. And 20 years from now, we can come back and say, we did that.
Well, I've never been able to install a permanent sculpture before, and I've really enjoyed Do Ho Suh's work before I knew that this was being installed. Like at the SAM, growing up in Seattle, his large dog tag piece was one of my favorites.
Too many numbers.
I found out that I had the opportunity to install one of his pieces. Hell yeah! So if you want to select them, I can
Kind of have the idea of unity here with all these little human figures coming together to create this big installation work.
It's not an installation unless it's meant for the space. Because it's not about the sculpture itself, but also how you interact with it, your relation to it as an environment.
I think it's really interesting. We don't have a lot of indoor sculpture here at Western. We have a lot of great outdoor sculpture pieces. So it's interesting to see something new being incorporated.
This was actually one of my favorites. It's always about little tiny things creating one big giant thing.
Do Ho Suh works a lot with the idea of a lot of little figures working together to create sort of a unanimous piece.
I'm pretty engaged with how the light works with it. And I think that was definitely intentional. And if you look at how some of the men have like a crystal ball, that's going to pick up light differently than the flat feet, than the standing men. He definitely knew what he was doing.
We're getting pretty close to finishing. We only have a couple more rows to hang up, and they're all pretty short ones, so it shouldn't be too complicated to get everything done.
That's it.
Hi, welcome to Western Window. I'm Patrick Disney. Today in studio we have Do Ho Suh, a sculptor and artist currently living in London, who has a fantastic piece that's actually being installed here at Academic West on Western Washington University. So, Do Ho, did you come right from London?
No, I was in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah,
So on vacation time, or are you doing some work?
No,
or?
I just had another opening reception at the UC San Diego.
Fantastic.
I just completed one project there.
Fantastic. You grew up in Seoul, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then you decided to go to Rhode Island School of Design. And you went there initially to study, or intentionally to study, not sculpture at that time, but you had a different medium?
Right,
you were interested
right,
in?
painting. I also went to art school in Seoul before I went to RISD,
Mm-hmm.
and I studied traditional Korean painting. As a painting major, you have to take non-major courses, like at least one courses each semester. The very popular classes filled up quite fast. I had no choice but this course called Figures in Contemporary Sculpture. And I thought that was a traditional figurative, sculpture class, and but it was not. And that was actually probably a turning point for me from painter to a sculptor. So.
That's nice. So it's almost not by accident, but that enforced liberal arts education of getting a broad perspective kind of drove you at least a little bit to explore that medium.
Right.
And that's great. I had the opportunity to look at, unfortunately, just a small sampling of some of your very compelling work. And anyway, I just love it. But I found this really kind of interesting dichotomy between fairly subtle work that seems fairly subtle, and then extremely bold on the other end of the spectrum. And I'm just curious if what inspires, what moves you. Is it, how do these things happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I have this very macho side, and also very feminine side. And I think I sort of go back and forth, and between those two poles. And for example, my fabric pieces, it's it's fabric and sewing, and it's quite delicate and feminine. But there's other pieces, well, it's partially it's coming from my upbringing and the environment that I grew up in Korea. So, like a mandatory military service, and those things sometimes more important and just shows in the work.
I'm just curious about your relationship with Western Washington. How we were so fortunate to have how this came about. To be honest with you,
No, I'm the one who's feel honored to be invited to the collection here. The Western Washington University has very strong, public art collection, and UC San Diego has also a very strong one. And the collection is so strong. For example, you have Bruce Nauman's amazing Bruce Nauman's piece and Richard Serra, so on and so forth. And so for me, it was a great honor to be part of that gang.
I was wondering if you might have any words of advice to our young artists that are working here at Western Washington.
Well, I can tell, because the education in the States, generally speaking, is quite different than what I had in Korea, and I think it's much better education here in U.S. And I think so. You guys should be proud of, the education system in the States. Being an artist is not an easy thing, and I think probably one of the most important thing is like keeping your sanity, because there's a lot of difficulties that you will have to face, and also because it's all about fun in my mind. Because if you don't, when you're making art, if it is not fun, I mean, what's the point? And so keeping yourself entertained by your own art or practice is, I think, probably the best way to keep your sanity. So that would be my advice.
That's great. Sanity, always important. Do Ho Suh, thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck, and we look forward to your opening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more Western Window. "19 feet high, 8 feet across." Cause and Effect is a beautiful and thought-provoking piece of public art. It also ushers in a brand new era for Western's sculpture collection.
We are getting ready to celebrate the first major interior work that we're adding to the University Public Collection. And as you know, most people know us by our outdoor sculpture collection, but we now are moving sculpture inside so that we can use many diverse materials, and we are so proud that Do Ho is sort of the leader of this particular dynamic. I think it's bringing the work inside. I think it's going to be a more intimate relationship with the students. Well, of course, I love the color, because we all think of ourselves as pretty drab here in the Northwest, so the color is spectacular.
It's a phenomenal addition to this collection. I think it's just amazing to be able to walk into a work of art and just have it completely surround you as you walk in. Like if you wanted to, you couldn't get away from it. It just overtakes you with the light coming through it, its size, and the magnitude of it. And there's a little bit of humanity, you see it, and where all these people, I kind of feel like all these people, where am I in all this? People from all backgrounds in the university as students were interested in what was going on. And I think when they understand what it is and how it's coming together, they feel more ownership in this as a community, as a college community, and a bigger community in how it relates to the state of Washington and the arts in the state.
Really, on behalf of the Washington State Arts Commission, and really from deep down in my heart, I'm extremely pleased to be here today to celebrate Do Ho Suh and the installation of this incredible sculpture, Cause and Effect, and welcoming it not only into Western's collection, but also the State Art Collection. The Art in Public Places program manages the process for acquiring artwork for Washington's public schools, colleges, universities, state agencies, based on actually 1/2% of the state's portion of construction costs. We were started in 1974. We're the second oldest statewide public art program in the country. A long time ago, though, Western also recognized the importance of the arts, not just in the curriculum, but also in the surrounding of the campus. Really in order to stimulate, challenge, and educate students, but also just to visually enhance their home away from home.
But everything you do that is challenging, exciting, positive, there is the naysayer or two, and I've heard from a couple of them who have said to me, Bruce, how can you be spending taxpayers' money at a time like this on art? The simple answer is we don't have a choice. It's the law, 1% for art. But that's far too simple. As we think about this particular piece of art, imagine if that had been the thinking as they were constructing the Parthenon or the Sistine Chapel. I mean, 1% would hardly be enough, and they thought way beyond that. They enjoyed the results, but we've enjoyed the results over thousands of years of that forward thinking. And as we think about then why Western is so proud of its art collection, it's for similar reasons. Art challenges us, stimulates us intellectually, emotionally. It defines our culture, not as something we inherit and hand on to the next generation, protected and unchanged, but something that's dynamic, vital, constantly evolving, constantly challenging. And of course, it's what defines us as human beings as well. It's the core of what a university is about and how we define knowledge. And it's that curious concept that something you can't demonstrate that we seem to take for granted, even knowing it can't be proved. And this is the concept of how you get something beautiful from a variety of different parts, how you get this cause and effect.
Well, that wraps this episode. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to tune in next time as we explore more of our world through Western Window.